Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Rising Stars. I'm your host, Sean Watt. This production is sponsored by Urban Eats MTL. Without further ado, we have a very special guest from the US of A, Carolyn Cook. Cece,
Hi.
how are you?
Good, you?
Good. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, obviously you didn't just fly to Montreal.
No.
Right? So, talk to us about the process of coming to Canada, because a lot of the actors, they want to go to the States.
Yeah.
So, why did you choose Canada?
So I didn't come here for acting.
Okay.
I came here like years ago.
Yeah.
And it was for a guy I met online. So
Usually how it goes.
Yeah. That relationship didn't work out, but I
Mhm.
fell in love with the city, and then I met my husband. And here he and I are almost 14 years later with
Wow.
a kid. And I ended up immigrating through marriage sponsorship.
Okay.
But I did work in an immigration law firm for a bit, so
That helps out a little bit.
A little bit to know like more about like what it takes for people to come here. Like if the Americans want to come to Canada to work, it's much more difficult than just getting married.
Okay, so like for example, if I wanted to go to the States, is it difficult to process?
I don't know much about U.S. immigration. I know about Canadian immigration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you came to Canada, where did you end up at first? Was it Toronto, West Coast? Here in Montreal,
I've been in Montreal since. I haven't left.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you explored any other parts?
I've been like as far as Toronto. That's it.
Pretty far.
Yeah.
Not even the halfway point. Well, I'd recommend East Coast is beautiful.
I've heard. Well, like when I grew up, because like I was born in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh.
And I moved.
You're a Southern girl.
I'm a Southern girl.
Nice.
And I claim Georgia as my home. Like
even the way that you said that.
Because I moved around my whole childhood. Like so like Alabama, Florida, Indiana, Montana, Utah, Georgia. Like I've been all over the United States.
Good for you though.
And I think that's why I'm able to like hide my Southern accent a little bit, because I have that conditioning.
Yeah.
And so from living in Montana, I know that the East Coast is pretty beautiful.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So you're in Montreal. Are you an actress, scriptwriter? Okay. Yeah. So how did you get into acting?
Well, I like if you ask my mama what I wanted to be when I grew up, she would say I wanted to be Christina Aguilera.
So singer.
Yeah. And then so I always had that like, look at me personality.
Okay.
And then when I was in high school, I wanted to be a chef. And I was accepted into one of the top 3 culinary institutes in the United States.
Bravo, that's great.
Yeah. But their tuition was like $40,000 a year. And I could not afford that.
Put it to the side.
Yeah. But at the time I was talking to that guy I met online, and he was like, you want to be a chef? Come to Montreal. Like the culinary diversity here is unprecedented, right?
It really is.
Like you walk down the block at one block and you've got restaurants from like 15 different countries.
Yeah.
You know? And so I was like, okay. So I used my last paycheck and only had $20 left in my pocket and got on a one-way plane to Vermont, hoping that this guy I'd never met would pick me up and drive me across the border. And
I hope he did.
He did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He did.
Of course.
Otherwise I wouldn't be here, right?
Of course, yeah.
And then I worked in kitchens for about 10 years. And I did become a chef.
Anywhere in particular that you can mention or you don't want to mention?
There's none that's still open, because this was...
Pre-COVID.
I was like 18, 19 when this was happening, like way pre-COVID.
It shows you that times have changed and how things really move quickly in the culinary world, I suppose. Yeah.
So I finished that career as being a sous chef. So that's like second in line of command. Like you've got like the director and then you've got assistant director.
Yeah.
I was assistant director of a kitchen. Okay. And I was like, this isn't conducive to a family life. And, you know, I had been with my husband at that point for like 4 years and we were about to get married. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to switch it up. But when I first moved here, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to do acting. But this was like back in 2008. Wow. So this is pre like casting workbook, Actors Access, any
almost
of those.
Pre-Facebook.
Everything, like just barely. So like if you didn't go into like a school to learn about the entertainment industry, then you had no idea where to start. So where do you go to? Craigslist.
Oh,
right?
Really? You went
yeah.
there? Okay.
And so I got some auditions, and one of the auditions that I went on actually was not good. Like, it was just to be like a non-speaking role as a private mafioso's poker dealer.
Okay.
So like it's a private, dealing cards at like this mafioso's private poker game,
Pizzeria
and it's like house or something, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I do the audition, and then I've always been quite busty, and I was in the room with these 3 men, and they were much older than me, like probably 40s, 50s, and they say, okay, great. So how do you feel about showing cleavage? And I'm like, well, if you look at me, it's kind of hard to hide it. Yeah. And they said, okay, so unbutton your shirt.
Okay, so you can sort of see where that's going.
I immediately got so skeeved out, and it was like in this basement, and it was just like, I felt so gross afterwards that, and then after that, like almost immediately after that, I met with a photographer in which we were going to exchange time for like him to build up his portfolio and for me to get some headshots. Yeah. And I met with him in a public place, and he's showing me on his phone his pictures of the work he does. And wouldn't you know it, he started to swipe on pornographic images. Okay. So immediately, you're 19, trying to get into this industry, and you're just hit in the face with like such unprofessionalism. Yeah. So that scared me off for like 10 years. I didn't step foot in the acting world. I didn't even think about it. And then I got married, and I was like, you know what? I'm almost 30. Maybe I'll give it a go again. So then I did, and I just started, I got with M2 Management. I don't know if they're still around.
They're still around. Yeah.
And so I did some like background work for them. Like I was on background for Long Shot with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. And I did like French production for Chet and stuff like that. And it was like, okay, this is cool. I'm getting into it. And you learn so much more once even if you're just background, you learn so much more being on set and watching people. And then having those conversations with everybody else. Like, what do you do? How'd you get an agent? You know?
Yeah. So it's, a lot of times you'll network with a lot of people on extra productions, but also it's eye-opening how much you can actually learn if you just pay attention.
You listen.
Watch and you listen and you respect the rules.
And don't complain.
No, you never complain.
There's so many times when like I'm sitting there in extra holding and all the extras are complaining about how long it is. And I'm like, guys, do you realize that the crew was here like 2 hours before us and they're up on their feet running around like crazy? Yeah. And you get to sit there and eat the snacks?
Well, a lot of people that I've met though on sets for being an extra, they just want a easy paycheck, knock it off their bucket list, or just do it for fun. Yeah. Right? You'll meet some actors here and there, but it's very far few in between. Yeah. Let's be honest, right? So, okay, so you started off with some of the extra stuff. Have you taken any classes as of recent? So where?
IO Acting Studio. His name's Adam Kelly Morton. Okay. He's an amazing coach. Okay. And I've actually had them like private coach me for certain auditions. Yeah. Because like when you get an audition through Kenyon and Wells, you're like, maybe I want that one, a reoccurring role. Yeah. Yes, please. So yeah.
So what kind of programs do they offer at IO8?
IO Acting. He has like beginners introduction, and then he has the more like complex on screen, and then he does screenwriting as well. Like he does so many different things, and it's like it's more of like a community place, and it feels so much more comfortable.
Yeah, it's just welcoming.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. His bigger thing is getting you comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay, I kind of see where he's going with that.
Because being in this situation, like you can be put into very awkward. Like I did another production in which I was being fat shamed. Right. That was the moral of the story, is that you shouldn't be mean to people if they look different than you. Right. And one of the scenes, I have to be in a bed with a man that I just met 20 minutes before. Yep. And there's just crew and us, and it's not like sexually intimate. It's just a different kind of intimacy.
Yeah.
And so you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Laying in a bed with a man that I just met. Like,
yeah. And it's also...
and then you have to be on.
Yeah. But you also have to be comfortable in your own skin as well for some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's stuff where there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to lines.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll memorize your lines and then
you'll
do a few takes and then they change it halfway through and you're like, oh, okay, now I have to make sure I remember it, the pacing.
Yep.
I remember I committed to a scene that I've shot previously where the girl that I ended up kidnapping for a scene, she's supposed to spit on me, but they want her to do like fake spit.
Okay.
It's like a little bit of water gun or whatever coming at my face. And I said, it just looks so fake. I said, okay, I'm going to commit. You're going to spit on my face. And she's like, are you sure? And the director's like, are you sure? And I'm just like, it's going to look real because it is real, right? So she ended up doing it. I took it to the face, took it like a champ. And I'm like, well, good.
Good for you.
Yeah. And that's
commitment.
It's commitment, but also embracing the uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the best policy. Just embrace it. Just be that character, right?
Yeah.
So
I did a music video for The Damn Truth. They're a big Montreal rock band.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
And in it, I'm not an aggressive or a violent person at all. But in it, I get mad at the man who's sitting across from me because he's not paying attention to me. So I splash water in his face and I flip a table. And I remember walking off that set like, oh my God, I just did that.
Yeah. Now I'm kind of afraid, are you going to flip this table?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Without water, of course, right? Splash. And you have water? Yeah, no. Okay, so that's pretty interesting and cool, their policy that they have there. I mean, it just makes sense, though. Yeah. Right? Have you studied anywhere else besides that studio there?
No, I haven't.
So
I was never in drama in high school.
No, but have you ever opened up to the idea of reaching out to other teachers and stuff like that?
I have. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm a mom to a 5-year-old. I have a day job too, so my time is very limited.
Yeah.
You know.
But we're in the era now where everything could be online.
Exactly.
So even if you have a coach in Vancouver.
I did. You just said it. Online. I did do something online with Giles Foreman.
Okay.
I think that's his name. He does like these online workshops where he works more like with this like spiritual like body work and like that is very, very intricate and very interesting psychologically to think about and like how you get into a character. Yeah. And like where that's going to be grounded from exactly. And so that was really interesting. That was online.
Yeah. So I take it you're not a method actor, right?
No,
I am. So I love to live and breathe it and convince myself in the mirror I am this person and I start rewiring my brain and stuff. And it's a process. It's something where if you gave me a script ahead of time, it's going to be better, the performance. Yeah. Right? But if it's like the day before, okay, I will really act then. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But it's different between being genuine for the performance when it's method acting versus, okay, I'm going to act and I'll sell the part. Yeah. Right?
I agree with that.
Completely different.
That is very different. And a lot more grueling, like on the actor mentally and physically. Because you've got to like sometimes...
It takes a week or two to get out of it after and feel emotionally well. Yeah. Done scenes where I've yelled, I've cried or whatever. And it's taxing. Yeah. Yeah, it can be taxing. So
could also be cathartic. Like if there's a bunch of bottled up stuff that you haven't dealt with, this character right here is your chance to do it.
It is. It actually is. It's a sense of release.
Yeah.
And I think even when you did that music video and you got angry, you were shaking because maybe
there was something there.
Yeah. And it was just sort of like this sense of relief. And then you have this adrenaline and high after when you're walking down the street. Right? Yep. So there's no shame in that as long as you're doing it in a safe environment, I think.
Exactly.
And you're mentally well and right? I think that's the most important part.
Yes, I agree with that completely.
Yeah. So what are like some of your dream roles? Like anything on TV right now? You're like, oh my God, I'd love to do that, or a movie.
I know there's a lot of books, like fantasy books that are being adapted into film and TV.
Yeah,
So I would say something like so far away from like the mom or the office worker,
like Lord of the Rings style.
Like Fourth Wing, Like that's a fantasy series that's becoming.
Never
It's about
heard of it.
dragons and dragon riders. I want to ride a fucking dragon. Come on, man.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, that's
that would be cool.
Yeah. What
Darn
about
it.
something like Jurassic Park?
That would be
Because
pretty
the
intense.
way that they build
Yes.
the dinosaurs, they're so real that at
Yeah.
that point, you're not acting.
Exactly.
You're actually horrified. You're mortified. If I
Yeah.
saw a T-Rex like that, and even though it has its little wheels underneath,
Yeah.
but it's moving its head and doing the growl, oh my God.
Plus, like the other people, the other actors that you're reacting to,
Yeah.
right? So it becomes even more real.
Yeah, and then they get all the fake rain, but it looks real, and there's like the
Yeah.
jungle, and you're like
Mhm.
moving through, and tall grass, and there's a raptor behind you.
I think something like that would be a lot easier and a lot more fun to do
Yeah.
versus like Avatar, where it was so computerized that like they would really have to use their imaginations, and they did fantastic.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times too, those they'll have like a half suit. So they'll have kind of like a pole, and they'll stick
Yeah.
like the half the creature, and that will be
Yeah.
sort of, you'll see that part
They're
of
still
it. but
able
you'll
to
never
get
see the bottom.
their eye line right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for that, yeah, okay, it shows your acting chops, obviously. But like, let's say you're in that position. Wouldn't you want to know, okay, what does this creature look like ahead of time? So then you have an idea of what to visualize.
Maybe they do. Maybe they
Right,
do
that's
show them in
what
like
I would
their
ask. Yeah,
pre-production. They're
Yeah.
like, okay, here you go. This is what when they're doing their table reads.
exactly.
They
like
might have like a
lookbook.
rendering or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would hope for anyways. I would inquire about that just for me, because I'm someone who, the imagination runs wild. I'm so vivid. You
Yeah.
tell me a story, my imagination's going so many different ways. I'm like, oh my God, I could write a story about this or whatever. Right. So fantasy, but what about like a current role that's out there right now? Is there a role where you see an actress or even an actor and you're like, you know what, I want to do that?
Not necessarily a role, but there is a show that's on like Virgin River.
I've heard of it. I've never watched
It's
it.
on
though.
Netflix. It's really good.
Is it similar to Tracker? Have you heard of Tracker?
Yeah, I've watched that. That would be fun too.
Yeah.
I like those crime, like solve
Yeah,
mysteries.
yeah. He's just tracking people down and he's like an expert at it.
Exactly.
Right? He's a rewardist.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Don't pay me until I complete the job.
I want his camper though.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's crazy.
I would go live in the woods.
Even his vehicle, it's a GMC Denali.
I know, like how can he
price.
afford that?
I looked at the price of it. I was like, $70,000, luxurious
Yeah.
GMC.
And he only gets paid like $10,000 for finding a missed
$15,000
kid.
or whatever.
But yeah, he can afford a $75,000 truck.
Fun fact about that show. There was an episode, I think it was season 1, was it? There was a horse episode where you had to find out the whereabouts of a missing horse. His wife was in that episode with him.
His new wife or his ex-wife?
His new wife.
Oh.
That girl.
Oh,
who
yeah,
was
you're
also a
right. You're
rewardist,
right.
That was his wife.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's such a nice thing to do. So
to get to work with your spouse.
yeah. So my next question is, if you had an opportunity for your spouse, husband to work with you, would you want to do it?
Oh boy.
Whether it's a reality TV show,
definitely not
Netflix.
reality. No, not reality.
So what about like a
something
thriller?
fantasy? Yeah, I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of role do you see him being?
So he's really tall and bald.
Like Slender Man.
Slender Man, but with a beard.
Okay.
So and he likes to wear leather jackets, so he kind of looks off-putting. So I could
Sons
see
of
him being
Anarchy.
like, yeah, exactly.
Who's it? God of War.
Yeah.
Is it Kratos?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I could see that.
Wigs do exist, or a toupee.
They do.
Put him with that, right?
But he suits being bald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like a Vin Diesel or The Rock. It's hard to imagine them when they have hair.
Yeah.
It just looks off-putting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen pictures of him when he's younger and he has hair, and I'm like, what? That's you?
Yeah.
You had blonde streaks because it was the 90s.
Yeah.
What?
What? You look like Justin Timberlake? What?
I can't compute.
Yeah.
No. And then my daughter too. She's just as she's 5 now. She's just as like energetic and bubbly as me, and now she's getting into singing too.
Okay.
So I'm like, do you want to do it? She goes, Mommy. Then she saw a commercial that I was on the TV, and she's like, why are you up there? I said, because that's my other job, baby.
Yeah.
That's what I go and do when I like FaceTime you because I can't put you to bed. That's where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh. And then she's like, Mommy, I want to do it.
That's cute.
Right. And
What was the commercial?
it was for a company called WorkLeap.
Okay.
They had like a bunch of like reels and things. It was more like internet.
Nice, like just like a web commercial. Or
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I played Lucy.
Ooh. Did you have fun with it?
Yeah. It was the easiest 2 hours of work
Yeah.
I've
Usually
ever
commercials,
done.
it's like 4 or 5 hours.
Well,
or
I've been
whatever.
on other commercials, and this is why I say don't complain, because I did a Pfizer commercial for like pneumococcal pneumonia.
Okay.
And
it's a mouthful.
it is a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even have a speaking part. But so the fitting was 4 hours the day before.
Why was it 4 hours for fitting?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
But I don't complain.
Okay.
Right?
Well, yeah, because they pay for it. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the next day was the actual like shoot. And it ended up being 19 hours on set.
Wow.
19 hours.
Well, I mean, Pfizer does have the budget. So.
They did. And it was very small. It was filmed in downtown Montreal, like in like I think the Cour de Montreal shopping center, but like in the lower levels. So there was no internet service. Like there was no cell service.
Spooky.
And you're sitting there 19 hours. So you don't have much to do. And there were people there. So we were there shooting. And then there was people also being fitted.
Wow. And
the people's fitting ended up running like 12 hours.
Okay.
And so all of these people, the people there who were actually filming and the ones who were getting fitted, they all started complaining so hard about how long this is. And I'm watching the head man of like the production company. He owns the company, walk back and forth. And all he's hearing is these people complaining. And I'm like,
yikes.
This is a small community. It's a small English community here. And regardless if it's just acting that you're thinking of, the production, the crew, the gaffers, everybody talks, right? Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, when you get home, yeah, of course you're going to gossip about
exactly
what you saw on set or what you heard, of course.
So, yeah, that was pretty interesting.
That's wild.
Shoot day, 19 hours.
It's long.
Yeah.
I hope.
And that was for a 30-second commercial.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow. And after 12 hours, still time and a half, right?
Yeah.
Was it non-union, ACTRA?
It was both, but at that point, I wasn't ACTRA yet.
Okay. Well, I think from doing that shoot, you became ACTRA apprentice after?
No, I got my ACTRA from being on Wong and Winchester.
Yeah. I auditioned for that too.
Yeah. It was a silent role. That was the first time I got my trailer.
Oh, yeah.
I got a trailer and I felt VIP. I was like, oh,
they're
look
pretty
at
cool,
this, right?
Yeah, you can nap in them. There's a full-length mirror.
It was AC'd.
Yeah.
So, and this was like filming in June or July. So it was blisteringly hot outside. And I was like, I'm sitting in an AC trailer, like just doing my thing. I'm so happy. And that's how I got my ACTRA.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Silent on camera role. So you got ACTRA apprentice. Are you full member right now?
Apprentice. Still.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's like a recent audition that you can sort of tell us about where you might be waiting for some news or you wished you would have booked
I have an
role?
audition coming up.
That's cool.
And it'll be like only my third in-person audition because everything nowadays is self-tapes, right?
Do you prefer in-person or self-tapes?
I like self-tapes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No pressure. You can just do it at your own time.
Exactly. It's the timing for me, right? Like it's not the timing of getting prepared for the role or any of that. It's the timing of like, okay, I've got to drive into the city. I've got to find parking. I've got to pay for parking and then come in and do the audition and then drive all the way back home because I don't live in the island. I live in the South Shore.
Okay.
So sometimes depending on what time it is, it could be like an hour drive.
Plus traffic. Oh my God. Yeah.
So, I mean, with no traffic, it's 25 minutes.
Yeah.
With traffic, it's an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
So it's all about time. And because I'm a mom, I'm constantly aware of that.
Yeah. I'm someone who's always preferred in-person auditions.
Okay.
Just because it's nice for you to be able to communicate with the casting
and
director
get
in person.
feedback.
Hey, how are you? Ask about them. They know who you are in person now.
Yes.
They get a vibe for your personality.
Yeah.
And that sometimes sells them on it as well. I don't want to say, oh, you're going to cast me just because you like me. But it just makes it more humane.
It does. You're right.
It's real. It's not AI. It's not, you know what I mean? You're not looking
This is just another video that they're watching.
You're not going to look through a screen where you have a reader and it's, you know what I mean? Maybe the timing's off. So there's a delay in the reception of when they're sending you a message.
Right.
Or, delivering the lines.
Well, for my self-tapes, I'm lucky I always have my husband read for me.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, babe, we got one to do tonight.
Yeah.
So you're coming down after the kids asleep.
Yeah.
But
how's your setup? Do you have everything?
Yeah,
you
I've
need?
got a setup. I've got lighting and
backdrop. You have it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sitting in my basement. And then when I got an audition, all I have to do is like get myself ready, pop myself in front of it and go.
one of the most recent auditions that I did was
Yeah.
2 days ago was for a national iced tea commercial.
Oh.
Where if I book it, I have to
Oh, I
fly to
think I saw that.
South Africa
Yeah.
for 10 days.
I think my agent
Bungee
sent me
jump.
that, and I was like, I can't, my dude, I can't go there.
They're looking for hipsters and a
Yeah.
hoser, and it's a male hero.
With that beard, you fit the part, right?
Yeah. So it's like, okay, if I book it, I'm going to South Africa, 4-day shoot.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Right.
But you have to dive in the ocean with sharks. That's great white territory.
How do you feel about that?
I've already dreamt about it. I'm horrified. I'm like overthinking. Oh my God, diving in the water, the jaws are going to be open. Like skydiving, bungee jumping off the world's tallest bridge.
Yeah, that's not for me.
Horseback riding, mountain climbing.
Okay, horseback riding.
Skating, swimming. Like there's like 7 or 8, 9 different stunts that you want to do, but they'll pay additional price for every stunt that you accept.
Oh, that's
and I said,
impressive.
I'm open to all of them. Let's do it. You know? Yeah. So that's kind of exciting, right? So you can either do, like, I don't know how that would work. I don't think it'd be 19-hour days. Can't be.
Given the fact that they want you to do so many different setups, probably not. It would probably be like an 8-hour day per setup.
Yeah, it seems like it. Or, you know, stunt here and there, a couple stunts a day. Or
they might be able to like merge 2 of them, like the shark diving and the swimming in the ocean, because it could be in the same location.
Yeah.
But I don't think they could do skydiving and bungee jumping in the same day because it would be so
like
separate.
One or the other, exactly.
Right?
It's like extremities, right? But it's weird because it's a national commercial for Canada, but they want to film it there. I'm like, well, why don't you just do it in Canada? Or it's like,
I guess we don't have that tropical
I don't want to
vibe.
spoil anything because it's, you know, NDA. I don't want to spoil, but you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're already at the wrap time for our show, our episode. But I want to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
What advice can you give to that little girl, that actress, or that boy who wants to pursue acting? Maybe they're afraid to. They don't know how to. What's something that you can just share with us to be like, hey, you know what? Go for your dreams or your interest.
The biggest thing that I learned, especially being a woman in this industry and not being the classical beauty that's size 2 or, you know, that
very cliche.
Is that when you're doing auditions, it's selection, not rejection. Yeah. Right? That it's not because they were like, oh, she's too fat. It's not that. It wasn't the right fit. Yeah. And they just selected someone else. So they didn't reject you. And then when I remember that and I book something, I'm not nervous to go on set because I'm like, they chose me for this. Yeah. Something they saw in my audition was what they wanted. So I'm good. Yeah, I got this.
I remember when I booked my first big commercial and it was just like a silent on camera reaction commercial with a big hockey player. Yeah. I cried for like 2 hours because I was so happy because I was at that point where I wanted to quit acting. I was like, I'm going to do some dumb job I'm going to hate for the rest of my life and whatever else. 3 days later, I got that response and I booked it and I cried. I cried because you can understand it's so emotionally exciting and it's a weight off your shoulders and it's reassurance that you're doing the right thing for you. And it's one of those beautiful moments it's really indescribable unless you've been through it. Yeah. The trenches, right? Like
you just get rejection or no response. Right?
Yeah. No, it's never a response.
They're never like, oh, we've chosen someone else. No. It's just you do it and then you have to put it away from your mind.
I've had it once where I had a producer because they wanted to shoot a walkie-talkie commercial at Point St. Charles at the big studio there. Yeah. Where he called me and he said, we loved your profile. You matched the part. But I want to tell you this in person. It wasn't you. It's the director wanted to work with an actor he already worked with. And that's the only reason why. Yeah. But at least they reached out. I wasn't expecting that.
And see, and that's where the community talks to each other. Yeah. And you don't want to get labeled by having a negative experience.
Exactly.
Right?
So.
And remembering that it's selection, not rejection.
Exactly. And I think that's very positive and it's the right mindset to have to keep pushing for your dreams and just enjoying the process. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
That is another episode of Rising Stars, guys. I'm your host, Sean Watt. This production is sponsored by Urban Eats MTL. I'll catch you guys on the next episode.